You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Lead-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO Lead-In. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights despite their sometimes rocky paths and found a way to lead in. Well, good morning, ladies. Today I'm here with Jessica Steelberg and Kelly Nolan, both co-founders of Dancing Daughters Whiskey. Hello, ladies.
Hi. Hey, good morning.
Well, I'm so excited to have you both here, speaking to all of the wonderful things that you've done and just sharing your journey. So why don't you each share a little bit about how you got here and, how did you get interested in liquor, whiskey specifically?
Yeah, kind of a crazy idea, right? Like to start a whiskey company, but it came to us pretty organically. During the pandemic, I was working from home and just had a little bit more, time to think about things. And I've been in, my current job for about 8 years, and was thinking about what possible hobbies I could do. And one day my brain just kind of went to, there's no whiskey that I feel like really is made for women by women. My husband, although he doesn't like when I say this all the time, but he loves whiskey. He tries all these different kinds and has these tasting things. And I think it's so cool, but I really struggled to find something that I enjoyed to sip over ice. I just found like it to be a little bit intimidating, and the flavor profiles weren't really up my alley. And so that was sort of the first, epiphany I had about it, about, not really seeing anything on the liquor shelf that appealed to women. Most whiskeys are made with the names Jack, Jim, they're all very masculine. So that was the initial idea. And then I kind of ran it by Jessica just to be like, hey, what do you think? This would be kind of fun. And that was how it started.
So Jessica, she calls you up, she tells you about this idea. What were you thinking?
Well, I was kind of surprised about the whiskey idea. I wasn't really a whiskey drinker very much, but I thought the lemon flavor would be fun to try. And they came over one night and brought some stuff to kind of mix things together and try the lemon in different ways, and it was delicious. So I was on board.
So you thought, okay, great. And how did you come up with the name? Because I really do love the name.
Yes, there's
Dancing Daughters.
Definitely a story behind that. We love the idea of the synchronicity of being in the 20s now and having something that reflected the roaring 20s of the 1900s. And they were also coming out of the 1918 pandemic, as were we at the time of building this brand. So in researching the 20s, we found a sort of nickname. There was also a movie called The Dancing Daughters. And we love that it reflected the women of that time that, were sort of the first women in history to enter the workforce, drive cars. They were really fighting a lot of the societal norms of that time and breaking down barriers, which in the liquor industry, there are very few female owners. And so it's a little bit disruptive to have, two women coming in and creating their own whiskey. And so we loved how all that tied together.
So that is really a cool thought of how you did that. I'm kind of thinking, just kind of breaking barriers, starting something new, coming out of a pandemic, and really, evolving into something different. I really like that thought. So just a little bit about yourselves. So I'm going to ask you a question. What word describes you the best, Kelly?
I'd probably say resilient. I've had a few evolutions in my career, personal ups and downs, and I think I've kind of found a way every time to sort of, make the best of a situation or make things work for me. Throughout that time, I'm 44 now, so I'd say that I've always found a way to bounce back and make, the best of a situation. I feel like life is really short, so you want to be happy and do what makes you happy.
Indeed it is. Now, Jessica, one word that describes you.
I don't know, maybe creative. I haven't been in the work field for many years. I was a preschool teacher before I had kids, and so I didn't know quite what I was going to be able to bring to the table with Dancing Daughters. But I feel like my creativity has kind of been my biggest thing to add to the company with the label. And I've had a lot of fun making the recipes. And I think that's probably my biggest thing that I've enjoyed doing with this company so far.
So, that's kind of an interesting thought about the recipe part, because a lot of people, they get whiskey, they don't really know what to do with it. They try to find something on the internet. And I imagine that, creating something, with your creativity part of you, Jessica, is very exciting. But how do you share those recipes with folks that are purchasing your whiskey?
We have them on the website. Every time we create a new one, we add it. We've made some recipe cards to drop off when we leave bottles with people, and we post them on our social media as well.
Very cool. Okay, so you've been doing this since 2020 or 2021?
So the idea kind of started in 2020, yeah. And then the whiskey launched in April of this year.
Okay, so how do you measure success? Because you are a newer company, but how do you measure success? And I imagine part of it would be, well, people are trying it. They're saying it's delicious. It's great. But I mean, I would say the metrics are probably a little bit different from your careers previously. But tell me what you think that might be, how you would measure your success.
It's an interesting question, because I feel like as we've gone down this path, that's changed a little bit. I think initially my expectations would have been the barometer of, how many bottles have we sold? But now that we're almost 6 months in, I'm really proud of, the amount of people that we know that have tried it and referred it to a friend, and just being able to go to a farmer's market and have people try it that don't know us, that don't know anything about it, and that love it and buy it on the spot. So I'm now finding a little bit more, joy and fulfillment out of people just enjoying to drink it, and just trusting that, eventually, if we keep pushing, the sales will come. But right now, I'm really enjoying the fact that everyone's liking it. I mean, that's a huge, huge accomplishment right there.
Jessica, what about you?
Yeah, I think that would be the same. I've had a few little tasting parties at my house with friends, and it's fulfilling to know that they enjoy it and we're doing it right, I guess, I think.
Well, and I would imagine next year that will probably change a little bit as you really start saturating the market. So, one of the biggest issues that I think we women have in career and life is balancing those two things. And so, why don't you share a few ways that you've, maybe found some success in that and maybe even some failure? Because I don't know, I feel like as a mother and working, when the kids were little, it was always like, okay, I'm failing at some moments. And then other moments I was thinking, okay, I'm killing it. I'm doing great. But I think that evolves and I think that changes. And with all of your hard work, for the first 2 years, really, and then, launching the brand and all of that, maybe you share some success stories about that or even some failures.
Yeah, I think that ebbs and flows. Of course, I have 3 small kids and a full-time job. So the balance is always a juggling act, of course. And, some weeks you feel like you're doing okay. I think I, dedicated certain chunks of my day to this business. And I even put, a separate office for this business downstairs, not in my office that I use for my day job. So I can kind of check out of one job and check into the other mentally. And I think that really helps too. So you're not trying to do it all at the same time on the same computer. I can really compartmentalize my day that way. And then when my kids are home, that's my focus. So luckily they're all in school. So I do have time during the day and on the weekends a little bit, but that's sort of how I balance that.
So quick question on that, Kelly. Do you foresee that you would be full-time in Dancing Daughters at some point in time?
100%. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about you, Jessica?
Mine's a little different because I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I don't have that kind of schedule I think that maybe Kelly has. It's kind of all over the place. So I am struggling trying to, I think I need to make myself a schedule of when I need to focus on this, because right now it's kind of when I have a free moment. Could be in the middle of the night, could be in the morning, could be in the afternoon. It's all over the place. So that's been kind of a struggle for me to try to figure out how to get back into the kind of working mindset, I guess.
So I want to thank both of you for being so upfront about that, because I think many women and people in general that decide to start a new business, they're thinking, how do I do this? How do I navigate it? Well, I think pretty much you explained it. You just figure it out.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of trial and error. But, also just trying things of, okay, this is working and that's not working. And shoot, I'm not going to be too hard on myself, right? And as moms, with small kids, for you, Kelly, that and, having a full-time job outside of that, that's a lot of juggling.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And all the kid activities, I imagine, too, for both of you.
Yes, our kids they definitely keep us busy. I mean, Jessica has 3 kids also, and it's nonstop. But I think when you are passionate about something, you really want to make it work. And so you find the time. And some things, we'll have to give a little bit, but we have great husbands that support us also, and that helps a lot too.
Yeah.
So let's talk barriers. What are the most significant barriers that you've experienced so far?
Well, we decided to enter probably the most heavily regulated industry you could possibly choose. Like, I laugh sometimes. I was like, why couldn't it have been like jewelry? But we, there's a 3-tier system in the alcohol space that requires, we don't make the alcohol. We can't sell the alcohol. So, it goes from our distiller directly to a distributor. And then, you can sell it yourselves online. You can go to retail. You can go to bars and restaurants. That's basically the model. So I think the barriers that we found are that, there's a lot of competition, and there's, 2 or 3 really big distribution companies that, kind of own the market, if you will. And so when we, go to a lot of the local bars and restaurants or retailers we're having much better success with. But a lot of bars and restaurants are like, we really just order from these 2 distributors. It's easier for us that way. And, there's definitely, I think, a little bit of struggle to have people take us seriously as 2 women with no liquor experience, and trying to, get them to take a chance on our product and just let them know, look, there's a market for this. You're just, not tapping into it.
Well, even with the competition, I mean, you are both, it's very unique. And Dancing Daughters and, Women in Whiskey, it's just very unique. And so maybe share some, first thoughts of what that might be as far as when you go to a restaurant and you say, hey, this is what we have. I mean, is there a possibility for you to get in with the larger distributors? Because I would say that's probably where you're, meeting the most resistance of, well, we need, we want it to come with our other liquor that we're already ordering.
Yeah. So that, the bigger companies, they definitely need to see a certain volume before they either, acquire a smaller company or bring them on as part of their offering. But I think, like you said, we have this very unique niche product that, I think from a marketing perspective, will help, garner a lot of interest, just because of we're a lemon whiskey, which there really are no other big brands doing that. And B, we are women owned and operated, and we are representing, half the population of people who may want to be drinking whiskey, but aren't really familiar with it or a little bit scared to try it.
And it's a boutique sort of way, I would say. It's a boutique item. Yes. So far, it seems like you've probably had a lot of lessons. Why don't you share some of those that you'd like to share with other women that maybe they could apply if they're starting out a new business like this?
Yeah, there's definitely a few. I'd say supply chain initially, we didn't really anticipate how troublesome that could be. We really wanted to do a pretty ornate bottle, kind of like a perfume bottle. Oh, this will be so cute. And then you start trying to find the glass, and no one has it, right? So you're kind of like, all right, well, I guess we're going down this road. So being flexible a little bit with your vision is good. And then, you make other small mistakes. I think one of ours initially too was, I signed up, I was like, oh, we got to get a distributor. And this was months before our product was ready. And, not knowing that like they're charging us as soon as we sign on, we're getting charged. And so without a product in their warehouse. So just not being aware of like, oh, we don't need to do this. Yeah, I think I was just running, sprinting, trying to get it out there, and, being able to take a step back and be like, okay, it's not ready. We'll be fine. We don't need to get a distributor tomorrow. I think those kind of things you could probably avoid some of that if, you kind of just slow down a little bit. I think I was overly excited.
Well, I think too, a pandemic. You're right in the middle of a pandemic with the shortages in glass and all of that. I think, some of those things could probably evolve over time. If you have your heart set on, Jessica probably has all these creative parts of her ideas that she wants to implement. And, sometimes timing might not be right in the beginning, but it doesn't mean that you might not get that special glass bottle at some point in time because you just have to wait until you can get the supply chain issues handled and worked out and all of that. So, just kind of looking at, what you're passionate about, all of the things that have happened thus far and, where you're going to be going in the future. what are some things that you would say are definitely on your top priorities as far as your passionate things that you want to implement here?
So I'm a little bit more focused on, all right, we need to be branching out to different areas. And Jessica and I agree on this too. And she's focused on developing new products for us too. So we kind of have those two avenues. And I mean, they run parallel, but they're, those are the two. Started in New York. So we have that market that we can tackle next, and then a few new product ideas coming down the pipeline.
I'm looking forward
Jessica,
to developing new flavors and also kind of getting maybe some fun merch out there. Dancing Daughters merch, I think, would be fun. So I'm looking forward to getting started on creating some of that stuff too.
And then, of course, the fabulous recipes.
Yeah.
You know what would be kind of fun? I don't know the viability of it, but if you could have a recipe on the bottle, you know how sometimes it's got that little sticky tab that holds it down and then you can pull it off? That would be really a very, very neat idea. Just throwing it out there. Don't know how viable it is, but with your creativity, just have, and they don't have to all be the same. But, that would be kind of an interesting thing to possibly try. So just kind of thinking about the different flavors, is there anything you could share with us, Jessica?
Am I allowed to say what we're thinking of, Kelly?
Sure, go ahead.
Awesome.
We're right now experimenting with possibly doing a bottled or canned cocktail, a lemonade iced tea one we call it the Mary Bell after our grandmother. And we're kind of experimenting with figuring out how to go about that. And my next flavor that I would love to try and see if it is good and works is I think blackberry would be really yummy.
Oh my gosh, blackberry would be amazing. And then think of all the wonderful cocktails you can come up with, the muddled berries and all of that. Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh, that would be great. Well, okay, so Maribel, and you did say that she's your grandmother, right?
Yes.
So tell us, because we didn't even get to that, how are you related?
We're cousins. Our dads are brothers. They're 5 brothers. So, yeah, we've lived close together since we were born. She grew up in San Diego, and I grew up here in Orange County, and saw each other all the time.
That's great. And then, the rest is history.
Yeah.
So just kind of thinking about too, your journey, choosing this. And Kelly, you didn't even mention what you do full time in your job.
Yeah. So I do digital marketing in the construction industry. So that's tied in, pretty well with marketing a new product.
Definitely. So I love the merch idea. Do you have any thoughts on what that might be?
Fanny pack.
Fanny packs.
They're very popular right now.
I was at an event for another brand. They were sponsoring it, and they had these cute little bright blue fanny packs with their logos on them, and they actually were insulated, so you could put the drinks in the fanny pack. So I thought that would be kind of cute.
Who's on the go?
That is cute. How fun. So what about bottle openers, anything like that? I know you don't use a bottle opener for the whiskey, but it's just those things are always kind of fun and easy to pass along, and cooler, the little handheld, what are they called? Koozies? Mm-hmm. I forget. Anyway, that would be fun too. So just kind of thinking about, the next generation of women and leaders, what would be some advice that you would give them as, just something that you've learned in all of your different things in life, because it is, starting a business is not easy. And there certainly is that whole learning curve and especially I think more in what you're doing, because there's a lot of regulation, like you mentioned, in the whiskey and alcohol industry. But what are some of the lessons just in life and in general that you would say really helped you in getting, your business off the ground?
I think the first one for me would be, you really have to believe in yourself, and know that, you can do it, and trust that you have, every opportunity that anyone else does. So, knowing that you have something to bring to the table, I think that's helped me in the past, even, with negotiating job salaries. And with this one specifically, we had to really, and I still firmly believe in the product. And if you are the biggest fan of it, it's going to be hard for you to convince anyone else that it's great. But you also have to believe that you can do it.
Jessica, what do you think?
I would say be able to communicate with the people around you, take advice, ask for advice. My husband's an entrepreneur, so he's been very helpful, bouncing ideas off of him, getting advice from him, and have a good partner. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without Kelly. She's amazing. And I think just being able to go to other people and not have too much pride and just be able to ask for help.
Well, and I think too, a partnership is great when you're not exactly doing the same things, when you're very complementary, like I believe the two of you are, doing, staying in your lane, but also, coming together and working together for that common goal between the two of you, which I think is really important. And, asking for help, that's pretty hard to do sometimes, but, when you don't know everything, which to all of you listeners out there today, no one knows everything. If they say that they do, they're not being genuine. Really, it's a lot of it is truly learning as you're moving along. So, just curious, kind of thinking about the whole canned cocktail idea moving forward and your different flavor. What about as a whole? What do you think the future is going to hold? And just kind of looking 5 years forward, what do you think might be happening in that time? On your wish list, maybe.
We'd love to be in every state in the country. And, that would probably mean we're with one of those big distributors. That would be amazing. And I'd love to see us, as a staple in, many bars and restaurants. Because again, women are, 50% of the population. So it'd be great to have a little, female ownership reflected on those menus.
Jessica, what do you think about that?
I would love to see Dancing Daughters become a household name, along with Jack Daniels and Jim Beam. They need a little bit more of a feminine brand to join in with those guys.
Definitely. So I think we should figure out what your signature drink is. Do you have one?
It's sort of the Maribel. So that we weren't really even thinking about doing any kind of pre-made cocktail, but everyone that tried the Maribel was like, you have to can this. You have to can this. And so we're just sort of listening to the market on that one. And, we thought, well, maybe we should give this a try. That's the feedback we're getting.
I could definitely see something very inventive on the can, very old-fashioned, as the Maribel, as something that really would capture the market. Not too many colors because that's very expensive, but something really just lavish and feminine, but, with that Dancing Daughters style. I would love to see what your thoughts are on that and moving forward and looking forward to the future as far as I for one, am a BlackBerry kind of girl, so I'm really excited about that. But, coming up with some ideas of the muddling and the different, I always say, when you take time to muddle a berry and you're mixing it with something delicious, you're creating something that is made with love because you're spending that time really with the berries and all of that. Anyway, any further thoughts or feedback from you ladies?
With the blackberry one, I created a recipe already. It's called the Grace. It's on our website. And it's blackberry, lemon, soda water, mint. It's really good. That's what gave me the idea to try the whiskey flavoring of blackberry in the future.
I think some glasses too, some nice little glasses that you can mix your cocktails in. That would be something that would be some great merchandise as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, I'm excited to see what you're going to do in the future. Dancing Daughters, Jessica Steelberg and Kelly Nolan, thank you so much for joining me today, and really excited to see what you do in the future, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.